Hi, everybody. My name is Corin Chesterson. I am the Influencer Marketing Associate at Wilson Sporting Goods, and I am here with a very talented table of walk-ons. We're going to hear some experiences and just thoughts from you guys on the perspective from the end of the bench, which sometimes we see gets a lot of love when they come into the game, and other times might get overlooked in practices and whatnot. So to just do a quick introduction around the table, if you want to say one or two sentences, Shea Rush, we'll start with you.
How you doing? I'm Shea Rush. Played at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill from 2016 to 2020.
Cool. And then we have Coach Grant McCasland.
Yeah, Grant McCasland, a former walk-on at Baylor University. Got told my mom would never know I was going to be on the team, so that was a good start to learning the walk-on life. And now the head coach at North Texas, and we started a walk-on every year since we've been there. So
that's phenomenal.
Kind of part of the journey's continued.
Cool. So you make a lot of people at this table very happy. And then Henry Shortess.
How's it going, guys? Henry Shortess, played for LSU from 2014 to 2016, and I'm pretty sure I led the nation in high fives given during those 3 years on the team. So happy to be here.
Thank you for being here. And then we have Josh Moreau. Moreau. Okay. Josh, welcome.
I'm a student manager at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. I'm going to be a senior this year, and currently, hoping to get on as a GA. So, stuttering.
Awesome. And then last but not least, Erin Sinnott. Welcome, Erin. Thank you for being here.
Yes, so I was not a walk-on, but I just finished my first season on staff at Minnesota at the end of the bench, and so we see a lot of things and learn a lot of things, and excited to just be here and see everyone's perspective.
So before we came into this panel, I wanted to do some Googling because I have my perception of walk-on. I'm sure all of you have your own. So the official, when you type into Google, how do you become a walk-on basketball player? Here, I just want to read off the things that it says. What are the expectations of a walk-on at the NCAA D1 level? Number one is bring positive energy to all practices, games, and all team events. 2, push your scholarship players at practice. 3, put the team first. 4, fill in on drills and scrimmages when scholarship players are injured. And then 5, know by heart the competition's plays. So, Coach, I'll kick this to you because you have a perspective from both sides of things here. What's your definition of a walk-on?
Man, that's a good one. I think you filled a lot of the roles. And I think it's almost like a walk-on's role, and mine was, whatever the team needs, honestly, you provide it. Maybe, and it's not at the direction always of the coaches. You just find the best ones, I think, find ways to impact winning that may not even have anything to do with basketball, right? I mean, it is your energy. It is the high fives. It is part of, like, who you are as a person and what you love to do, you get to do every day, where the other guys get scholarships, you do it for free, if you will. Maybe a free meal was a good compliment to playing. But, I think it's those people that fill in the gaps and help teams win.
100%. Now, Shea, I'll kick it to you because, first off, congratulations to UNC Tar Heels on a phenomenal win last night. I was talking to some buddies, possibly one of the best college basketball games that we've seen in a while. With UNC being in such the limelight, a lot of nationally televised games, as a walk-on, TV is going to be on you. Is there some extra limelight to stuff you have to do on the bench, like the celebrations, the dance moves, all that stuff that maybe, a D2, D3 kid that might not have ESPN staring him in the face?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. You are constantly in the spotlight, and so it adds some extra pressure and making sure that you are doing all the things that you listed there. If you're not standing up and clapping, people notice that, and whether it's our coaching staff or the fans, somebody's going to point you out. So you got to be 100% on all the time. So they do a really good job of making sure they pick guys that are playing for the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back of the jersey. Our walk-ons were a really close-knit group, but we were also very close with our entire team. And I think that benefited our whole group, our whole unit, because nobody felt like one guy was better than the next. We all felt like we were 15 equals. And if your coach is treating you that way, your staff is treating you that way, there's never any negativity, never any guys doubting what the long-term goal is, and that's to win a championship.
100%. And you mentioned that, you know, the walk-on like has a little family, little niche. We try to do that here in Wilson. Henry, what, like, do you still keep in touch with other walk-ons? Are you guys all on like a family thread here of like when something happens, are you texting each other? Like, how do you keep in touch with other players that, you know, you've sat so close with for so many years?
And I think in today's day and age, there's so many ways to keep in touch with people. I don't think I do a good enough job of it personally, but I know, you know, at the drop of a hat, I could call, you know, my former teammates at LSU that I, you know, sweat with for 3 years, and they would do anything for me. And I think there's kind of an unwritten brotherhood that exists in the basketball community, you know, because we know what it takes to put in the extra hours, you know, to lift weights, the days of games, you know, to, you know, put up thousands of shots when you know that maybe you get in for 10 seconds. But I think everything that goes into it prior to that kind of establishes a bond that really lasts forever. And I think, you know, there's parts of me now, you know, being a former teammate of Ben Simmons, you know, just being able to text him and call him and kind of still be in his ear and kind of encourage him like I did when we played together. You know, I think that's just kind of a cool aspect where things kind of continue, you know, just as you go into the professional world, and you can kind of look back and think about all the good memories you had in college, and, you know, just feel very fortunate that those bonds were created, and always just kind of know that those people will be there for you if you need something down the line, right? You know, if you have kids, you know, hopefully they become teammates, right? And they can kind of do the same thing that their dad did.
100%. Now, Josh, from the GA perspective, I saw you arrived here with two or three of your other GAs. You're pretty close to a walk-on in the sense where, like, you guys are practicing with them, you're playing with them, so it's like you're almost like an extension of them. What type of relationship do you have with the walk-ons where, like, is there almost a closer bond between you two than there might be between, you know, Henry and a Ben Simmons or something like that?
Yeah, I'd say the walk-ons on our team, they're sort of my best friends because they're always working late or trying to work to get on the court, and I help like rebound and stuff like that, so I'm always there with them. So.
For sure. And now, Erin, your perspective, when you had told me before, is you sit at the end of the bench with the walk-ons. So, like, what conversations are they having? What do you hear that, you know, is what stuff you're hearing that they're engaged, they're staying on top of the game, so if something were to happen, they could pop on in there?
Yeah, I think for sure the walk-ons at the end of the bench is like, y'all bring the energy. It's like, if you don't have that extra energy, whether it's from the fans or whatever, like, you are in practice, you see everything that goes on, you prep the same way, you're in film, you know the ins and outs of everything. And so for our walk-ons, and what I try to do is just encourage them to bring that energy, because they might not necessarily be in the game doing it, but they've helped prep. They're an extension of the coaching staff just as much as the players, obviously being players themselves and student athletes. But it's like they bring that energy, and it's so important because it's those end of the games where your teammates come out and, like, they're dog tired and we're all standing there, and as well as just, like, from a scouting perspective, being able to shout out plays and talk. I am on staff with Lindsay Whalen, and she's somebody where, like, she commands the court, she brings the energy, like, she was the floor general, and she said the biggest shift in her career and being a champion and now being a Naismith Hall of Famer here shortly, she said becoming a good teammate and bringing that energy is when she started winning championships and being on the best teams that she's ever been on. So
Coach, I want to kick it to you for a second. So I'm sure when you're recruiting guys, you know, walk-ons might be the last of who you're looking at, but it's so important of a role, and everybody's mentioned energy from a walk-on. What if you see the energy of your walk-on is down? Like obviously you want to pay attention to your star guys and get your core starting lineup right. What if you see your guy at the end of the bench is maybe having an off day? Like, how much time do you spend? Hey, you got to pick it up to get our guys going.
That's a great question. Honestly, we've recruited some walk-ons and managers harder than we've recruited some of our players.
Wow.
Honestly, that's the value we put on the position, because what I think everybody will agree to is once you get a part of a team, I think when you feel like everyone is equally important, that's when you can actually attain things that people don't think can happen.
Yeah.
And that's how you value people. So we've spent a ton of time, like literally we've got a manager named Jared who we've recruited harder than anybody, because I went to a practice and he was holding scholarship guys accountable for not touching lines, and they weren't saying anything to him other than, you got it, I'll do it. And I was like, I went to him after I went to see a player, and I saw him, and I went and recruited him for the rest of the year to get him a part of our team. Just, I don't think you can value having your whole heart into it enough. And so, but also the energy part of it, that you get to know those guys and you understand that they have as good a pulse on the team as probably anybody, because they're not always in practice, but they're standing and watching some, and so you can see that they understand what people's interactions are. And as a coach, you see it, but as a player, sometimes you don't see the things that you're not doing well. So I just, probably more than anything, recognize that they've got as good a vantage point at creating the energy and getting good at how do you get the best out of your team. And so to ask them consistently away from the court how they're doing, and to get a pulse for them so that they know that you care about them more than basketball, and then they have a way of helping other people understand what it takes. So honestly, our walk-ons or managers are the standard for how we do it. And so to say that they have bad days is like everybody does, right? But the more I realize that when they can provide a level that has a greater even expectation than we may even have for them sometimes, that's when we've had our best teams. And our best team this year we've had in school's history had a walk-on that started every practice with ball handling, and started every practice with leadership in the locker room. And that honestly has been the standard of our program that I don't think you can put a high enough value on. So
that's great.
Family here.
From terms of recruiting guys and making sure you're building that culture, I was recruited by Coach Williams. He calls me in October of my senior year in college. He wanted me to be a part of that program and to build to that. You look at Luke May. He was a phenomenal four-year player at North Carolina. He was also originally a preferred walk-on. And so we take the walk-on position so serious and building that culture, just like you do. They're going out and finding guys that can fill that role that they know will add value to the program. There are guys, a lot of the walk-ons could probably play at other programs, but you're giving something up to be a part of the greater good, to be a part of the North Carolina brand, and those are the kinds of guys and gals that you want.
100%. Now, Henry, I heard Jay Wright say something about Gillespie as point guard, that like he can take over a huddle and he's just an extension of the coach, and he just has an understanding of like he trusts him to say the right things, do the right things. You say you have a relationship, with a guy like Ben Simmons, and if you see the coach's message might not be getting through to him, where can you kind of understand your boundaries of like I could pick up coach here and say something in your role?
I mean, I think you have to learn how to pick your spots, right? Because some guys, maybe they need a little more, sort of positive self-talk to kind of get going. Then there's some guys where you kind of just have to look at them. You make eye contact, and they kind of get the message from you, that their standard of performance needs to be lifted for the team to have success, right? And I think, that's the kind of thing that, develops in off-season workouts, when the coaches aren't around, and you really get to, learn your teammates and their habits and kind of figure out, like, what makes this guy tick, right? And how can I kind of pick the right spot, so this guy can put us in the best, position to win, right? So for a guy like Ben, I don't need to tell him, hey, go lift more weights, like your strength is really lacking, right? I mean, he's a physical specimen, right? I think with a guy like that, it's kind of telling him, look, take over, right? And those two words for a guy like that, that's kind of all he needs to hear, right? And I know it sounds kind of silly, that somebody in my position could even like have the guts, to say that to somebody like Ben Simmons, but I kind of took it upon myself. I don't want, too many games to go by where someone doesn't say that to him, right? And I think one of the things as a former walk-on is you just learn, you have to take a risk sometime with what you say to guys. But I would rather say something to someone and them get mad at me than not say anything at all, and those guys aren't playing as well as they could. Because really, all you want to ask of your teammates is that they're the best version of themselves, and you just kind of learn what spots to make comments. And sometimes, you just wait until tomorrow to say something to the guy because it wasn't the right time to kind of give them that push, right? But I think it's something that, it's a big trust thing, right? And once you develop that trust, then you feel like you kind of have the runway to say whatever to a guy because they know that you just want what's best for them and ultimately what's best for the team.
So now, Erin, just to get into a little bit of fun of it, because shout out to the women. I think we've seen on the WNBA side of things and then the women's basketball side of things, there's a lot more, no shade to the men, but just creativity and fun and just like a family aspect of the team side of things on the women's side of basketball. Being at the end of the bench, like, what's some of the best celebrations or like chants or stuff you've seen from being a part of, and do you get involved with any of that stuff, or you got to stay professional over there?
Yeah, so I sit next to a player, and then I sit next to our strength and conditioning coach. So if we just want to picture the situation that's going on with me during games, and in the Big Ten, where fans are brutal, like obviously anywhere, but the rivalries in the Big Ten, it's crazy. I was like, I'm not gonna like really care that much about like Iowa or whatever, and I'm like, nope, I hate Iowa. Anything Iowa, no thank you. But to kind of get to your point, yeah, so we also play on a raised floor. I don't know if y'all have ever played at the barn, but it is kind of a game to like who can get up quicker, and so it means that we have to bring our energy even more. So our strength and conditioning coach like usually tries to like pull everyone up. We're like, okay, good, like media, go. And so we try to like get up off the floor onto the court. And then like I really have tried to just as a former player, knowing your teammates rushing out to you at a timeout, high-fiving, all of that. Kind of to speak to your point too, like as a coach, like we want player-led teams. Like, and for me being in a unique situation, being on like support staff, I have that ability to be super close to the players age-wise, but also know what the coaching staff wants from them as in energy and as in like camaraderie. And so I've kind of make sure we count, make sure we do stuff like that with the shot clock, and get them to the court and into the huddles, because I know as a former player and as what you want player-led teams, you want your players to feel confident going to your starters and saying like, hey, let's go, like we got this. Because then too, that starter or whoever's playing on the court looking back to your teammate, like y'all are in the trenches together, like everyone is doing it and in practice and getting home at 3 a.m. And so I think like being able to celebrate and me encourage that and kind of build that creativity has been something really cool. And the girls kind of they love it, because being at a higher level, like they get those pictures, they get those social media type hype things that I think allows them to be okay being at the end of the bench and kind of embrace that role.
So one other thing that I guess to walk on, and we're kind of wrapping up here, which went fast. This is awesome. At the end of the game, so Kansas kind of had a comfortable lead yesterday, and the coach clears out the bench. What kind of emotion comes over you guys when you see coach clearing out the bench to fill in their guys?
I think for all of us, only thing we can do is smile.
Yeah.
Because it is the celebration of all the hard work that you put in throughout the entire season, especially at the Final Four. For those guys to have that moment, be on the court, be able to participate, share that moment with their families that are there, it's truly what you dream about as a kid when you have hoop dreams. So I get chills just thinking about those guys having that opportunity.
And I just want to, I think this is a good question to kind of wrap up on, because walk-ons might get a perception of like you're on the end of the bench, so I could beat you in basketball. And there was a famous thing with Brian Scalabrine once, like took a random fan out to a park and just destroyed him. What do you guys say, Coach, or Henry, when people are talking smack and I
do think like the best players get it the worst and walk-ons get it the worst.
Yeah.
Because whoever's at the end of the bench, they will obliterate you. Like, for me, it was like, does your mom know you're out after dark? Apparently I looked young, like it was 13 at the time. But just, I think you get the brunt of a lot of student sections grief. Yeah. But I honestly think a walk-on's role at the end of games is the most difficult in basketball, weirdly enough, because you have to sit there, not get warmed up, and go in with maybe 30 seconds left, and everybody wants to see you get a basket. 100%. So it's not like the other team doesn't know that you're trying to get the ball too, and fans are cheering for you and they want you to come in the game. And I don't know, I don't think there's a harder role in college basketball, weirdly enough. It's no warm-up, get out there and you have to make a shot and everybody's cheering for you, and if you don't, it's like the biggest awe you've ever heard too.
Terrible shots.
And it's not a high percentage look, let's be honest. You're just trying to get one off, and it rarely goes in. Or I have to get to the free throw line and get fouled and make one with you. So I just have so much respect for anyone that's got the guts to step into the arena. And obviously Coach Case talked about it last night, but to be in the arena and when you get that limited opportunity that it may be, I just have so much respect for anybody that gives everything they have for a few minutes, maybe a few seconds, to love their team well, because that is probably the moment they've hoped for, but it's, I think, the most difficult. So I just have such respect for anyone that can do it.
Now, Josh, I've been a practice player and a GA at some colleges. Sometimes, coach, for practice players, you have like a green light to just fire it up and go to town on the starting defense. You ever had that opportunity to like tap into an inner KD and just start firing some crazy shots as a GA, and you and your friends over here just lighten up practice?
Definitely a couple times. I love playing one-on-one with some of our players after practice. The whole team will just sit around and watch, and if you can actually get the win off, everybody goes crazy in the locker room and everything. So it's a great time.
Yeah. I guess, Erin, same thing for you. I'm sure you've practiced and gotten some buckets. Like, who do you tap into when you're, trying to do work against the starting defense?
Yeah, I try to focus more on who we're playing.
Yeah.
So it's actually being in the Big Ten, like we play a lot of really, really, really great teams, really, really, really great players. So yeah, you have to go hard. I don't practice. My time has come and gone. Like I am not. That is not my role anymore.
I can get a bucket.
I mean, not during practice though. I got stuff to do. But I mean, even just like embracing like who you're playing against, and then trying to like as a practice player or as you're preparing your team to be the best. And honestly, like our girls did a really great job this year, because like dang, the Big Ten is a good conference, especially for women's basketball. And so being able to tap in and like once again be an extension of the coaching staff. Like you have your your recruiting coordinator, you have your scout, and the coach that's on the scout, and you now as a player are trying to figure out how to be the best and to put together the best product to then go play against your team all practice and all week long to prepare them. So, yeah.
So to wrap up, I'll give you guys the floor one more time. If you just want to give any advice to players that aren't the top guy, but there's still like a role for you on a team, what would you say to someone who's right there on the cusp of being a D1 player and still helping their team in some capacity?
Yeah, I would say two things. One, absolutely do it and go for it. If you truly love the game, it's going to be the greatest experience no matter what program you're with, what team you're with. It creates a bond and a family-like atmosphere that you'll have for the rest of your life. And two, as advice on how to maybe get over the hump and get onto a team, is positive energy. It's the list that you listed at the beginning, but positive energy. Be somebody that can run through the wall for that program, whether it's grabbing rebounds or helping out, cleaning up cups after practice. You got to be able to do it all, and do it all with a smile on your face and some passion.
Love that. Coach, what would you say?
We listen to the Drum Major Instinct, which is MLK, one of his last sermons he actually did as a team. And it's amazing because it talks about the greatest of those that want to actually help other people, not get. And I just think that's the role as a walk-on that you actually learn, but it applies to all areas in life.
100%.
And literally the people that if you genuinely love it, you will actually get the opportunity. Just stay with it. And I mean, my story, I got cut 7th grade, completely cut from the basketball team. Ended up actually making it and starting on it later through a lot of crazy adversity. But at Baylor, when I tried out for the team the first time, I got cut. And 2 weeks later, they called me back and asked me to come back because the two guys didn't want to play defense in practice. They just wanted to shoot. So that doesn't work always. So it's like, be willing to do the little things. And I think if you really can give your heart to something, you're willing to do the little things, that's what separates you. And not everybody's willing to do the things that people don't see or don't appreciate. And if you are, there's a spot for you. And then you'll be given more responsibility. And the next thing I knew, I was literally playing in Big 12 games and national TV, and the coach was like, who is this that's out here? I was like, well, I wasn't on the scouting report. That was obvious. But like,
under the radar.
Honestly, just pour your heart into the little things, and those opportunities will actually present themselves because not everybody's willing to do it. So I just love the heart behind it. Appreciate all of you, obviously, for what you've done. And it really is a not glorified position, but ultimately you can put yourself in a neat position if you keep getting after it and keep trying.
Amazing. That's great advice.
Right,
Henry.
yeah. I mean, I would say, for guys in high school, you never know who's watching you, right? You never know what coach could be at one game on one particular day where they could see like one little, slimmer of something that they want to be on their basketball team, right? And it could be something as simple as like running to get the ball for the ref and handing it back to him, because that little thing could just be a microcosm of, the type of teammate that you could be, right? And how you could be like a cultural fit. Being the first guy on the floor to high-five your teammates, picking a teammate up off the floor, right? I think kind of having that character at all moments, the rest will kind of take care of itself, right? And you'll get your opportunities as they come. But I learned that, right? I mean, I didn't know that Coach Jones was coming to my games until I got the phone call, right? And I think, I don't think I would have played any differently if I had known that he was there, but I think the fact that I didn't know that he was there kind of made me feel like I earned the opportunity, right? Because I just did things a certain way, and he saw something in that and thought it was worth having me on the team. And then maybe the second thing would be, be ready for your opportunity when it comes, right? I mean, you probably took tens of thousands of shots, right? And then, maybe you get 15 seconds, right? But it's all worth it. It's all worth it. And, all the work that you put in when people aren't watching makes the 10 seconds, more than worth it, and things that you'll take with you for the rest of your life.
100%. That's great advice. Josh, what would you say?
What you just said, I'd say stay the course and just work behind closed doors so that when the doors are open, you can make the most of your opportunity. So we have one walk-on. He's not a walk-on anymore because he earned a scholarship because he was always ready, and every time his number was called, he stepped up. And now he's one of the leading three-point percentages in the nation. He's number 3, Kentrell Garnett. Shout out to him. But that's what I'd say. Just always keep working, stay ready, help out wherever you can. Whether, like you said, it's picking up cups or taking charges, just do the little things. So that's what I'd say.
Yep, it's really cool. And Erin, what would you say to your younger self?
I would definitely say just go all out. I feel like so much of life, you just have to kind of not be a sellout, but just go all out with everything you can. So much of us, I feel like we leave things. We're hesitant and we don't want to be vulnerable. But I feel like the best and most incredible experiences and situations that you can go through and attack with your teammates is the ones that you leave it all out there. And then you show up the next day and you guys do it again and again and again. And I think just being at the table and having that opportunity, it doesn't matter if you're a manager, if you're a walk-on, whoever, you are in that practice facility or you are on that court and no one else knows what you guys are going through. No one else knows what anyone else is going through. We have to cherish that team and things like that. And so I would say you have to go all out and keep showing up for sure.
Yeah, well, you guys are phenomenal. I've always had a lot of respect for walk-ons and everything you guys do, and the stuff that you don't see, the picking up the cups, the slapping hands, the tapping someone on the back. So kudos to all of you because it's not easy to do that. And thank you for being a part of this. We really appreciate you guys, and thank you.